Hi, I'm Michael. I just want to spend a couple of minutes talking about the role of user experience design in enterprises. And I believe that user experience design is underappreciated and underrepresented and is actually probably the most valuable skill in people you can hire and nurture within a company. And part of my passion is making that happen. I really think that the skills of a user experience designer are vital. And because of our empathy and the way we design, we're able to collect a lot of different talents together and have everyone in the enterprise and the teams, etc., really understand and be able to talk about the same thing at the same time, namely interacting with customers or each other through digital means, which is the current world we're living in. We have to be able to understand and interact effectively with these new ways of communicating. So, where did we begin? One thing is a little bit of misconception. User experience design has the word design in it. So, a lot of times people who are designers become user experience designers, and which is understandable, and there's nothing particularly wrong with that journey. However, design to most people is a bit daunting. Actually, most people don't feel as though they've really given that part of their creative world that much attention, and they think, maybe rightly so, that designers are a specialized group. And I'll agree with them because I do believe the whole role of being a designer is to be unique, to create something about yourself and your talent that stands out from others. When you're working with big design teams, you are often seeing people who have radically different approaches to the same problem, and they can usually come up with something that is unbelievably unique, different, and delightful. And another person would come up with something completely different. So if you're understanding the role of creative director, you as a creative director are taking those talents and trying to merge them together to create a compelling whole, because designers are not interchangeable. Now, if you put the word user experience in front of it, all those things actually fall to the wayside. User experience designers are focused on understanding users or people, and they are focused instead on not being unique, but in fact being completely transparent, understandable, and making that word easy to use happen. Easy to use is probably the most common goal that most people have. Intuitive is another word that people tend to use a lot, and those kind of products and experiences are ubiquitously appreciated by everyone. But whose role is it to create easy to use? And I'm going to argue that user experience designers have that as forefront in everything that they do. So that misconception, the word design, let's get that out of the way. User experience, what does that even mean? Well, it has to do with psychology, and psychology in a couple of ways is our basis of our design practice. Understanding the user is what we say, and user, of course, is not the best term. You could call it customer, or you could call it human. A lot of different companies try to focus on how to get that nebulous thing into the company's mindset and help them focus and react to how customers feel about the experiences that they're having with a company. There's a lot of tools and techniques we can talk about, but mainly the goal is to understand human psychology. A couple of great resources: Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow, which really just describes how people think, especially when you are maybe more aware of psychology through therapy and talking. I'll say that this is a different approach. This is based on things like B.F. Skinner, who talked about behavioral modification techniques. How is it that people behave? Well, they tend to have reinforcement over things that are either positive or negative, and they want to change those things about themselves. And the change part is difficult. So if you go back to your Freud or Jung, they try to say by verbalizing and creating a story around the things you like or dislike about yourself that you can change yourself. Uh, Behavioral modification says no, it doesn't really matter why you feel bad. You just need to reinforce the good things and try to remove the bad things. So think of quitting smoking or something like that as an example. How do you reinforce the positives of not smoking while taking away the habitual nature of the pleasure of smoking, for example? So there's another great researcher in this. This is BJ Fogg, who talks a lot about how to add positive things into your day by finding behaviors and attaching new behaviors to them to create a habit. His example is every time he goes to the bathroom, he does 5 push-ups. And really brilliant stuff when you think about it, because it says, I'm going to do this thing that isn't terribly hard, but I'm going to attach it to something I do a lot, and therefore I'm learning the habit, and I'm getting the results, which is he wanted to be fitter and stronger. So behavior modification, as you might already be able to tell, meshes perfectly with computers because they are able to do really repetitive, boring things really reliably and without muss or fuss. BJ himself is doing it in his mind. Our minds tend to not be that regular and focused, so that the computer is reminding you to do something. Think of your rings, etc. These ideas that are fairly new are just basically taking these behavior modifications and making them into products. And you'll see more and more of this in products as you're able to use something that helps you do a job and then uses techniques to make that job easier, more pleasurable, or more understandable. All these goals, I say, are part of the skill set of user experience professionals. So the value hopefully makes some sense. It's based in psychology. The goals of the designer is to make things easier and understand and be able to scale those into people's lives so that things that might be drudgery turn into pleasure. What a fabulous set of skills, and that's why I think it's a fantastically valuable skill to bring on and reinforce across the enterprise.